Okay, we're
okay. We're good. So,
oh my god, time for the grilling questions.
what is your coffee order today from the alchemy experiment?
I am having a matcha latte with oat milk.
I'm also having a flat white with oat milk, and I want to thank the alchemy experiment for letting us use this space. We have a beautiful exhibition here. You've been into the shoes of Gar,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
23 and 29?
That's right. I wrote that in, maybe, I'm like losing track of time, I think it was 2002, and I had just done some work in Italy. I was working in an Italian summer camp for teenagers for a couple of weeks, and then I was like very blessed to have the resources to be able to do some traveling in Italy afterwards. Yeah, that's when I wrote it, and then I wrote it when I wrote sort of bits of it while I was traveling, and then I edited it when I came back, and then it was kind of just like between different drafts for like a year.
Right, okay. And did you actually stay at a hostel?
Yes.
By nuns?
Yes, I did. So in the story, the main character stays at a hotel which is in a nunnery. Mm-hmm. So it's it's entirely run by nuns, and it's kind of advertised on this like Catholic travel website.
Right, okay.
And I did stay at a hotel like that, and I would really recommend it. Like, it's really cheap.
See, that was so bizarre.
Yeah.
That I thought it had to be real. Because I was like, I don't see how you could like just come up with that concept.
Right.
It's so unintuitive.
Yeah.
Hotel run by nuns.
It's like, it seems so strange, but yeah, it is true. I think the idea is it's a lot of like Catholic travelers, but they didn't didn't ask me or anything. And
they don't make you prove.
No, they don't make you prove anything.
Okay.
And I kind of felt like everybody else was in the hotel. We would all walk into like the breakfast or whatever, and you just look at the other guests, and you had this feeling that everybody was like trying to work out how they were meant to act in this like nun hotel. Like, do we bow to each other? Exactly. Like, how do we cope? But yes, I did stay at one of those.
Okay. And is that the main thing that inspired you to write this? Like, was that your starting point, or did you have another starting point?
So I feel for me, the starting point for this story was that I was really scared about turning 30 because I was 29 when I wrote it, and I was going to turn 30 the next year. And I kind of had this thing where I think when COVID started, I was like 27 maybe. I kind of had this thing of suddenly being like, there's all these things I have as aspirations for myself before I'm in my 30s, and then, you know, just kind of basically like being locked inside and then coming out after that and being like, oh my god, like I just feel like I had all this time stolen from me. So that was kind of the main starting point, was me trying to like cope with this like anxiety about getting older. And now I'm 31 and it's fine, but
it's like getting over the bump though, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I feel like it is, like as soon as you're, like I think even like, you know, a few months before I turned 30, I was like, I'm actually now completely fine with this.
Yeah.
But like this
after all of that, after writing the story.
Exactly. Yeah. But like at the time, I was just like so pent up about it. So that was kind of that was the starting point for the novel. And I also wrote another story when I was in Italy that was like sort of about the same themes and same ideas of like getting older. So that was kind of where the story began.
Because I feel like reading it, the daughter almost kind of replaces the mother. Mm-hmm. Like when it like ends like with the mother like holding a camera at her.
Yeah.
And it's like she kind of becomes the mother. And I was wondering like how much of that was like symbolic and like, yeah, it was like a very interesting twist.
Yeah, I guess what I was also, I was inspired by this sort of Irish myth or like mythological figure called the fetch, which basically it's an idea that when you're about to die, you see a doppelganger of yourself, like just appear, and that tells you you're going to die. So
that's horrible.
I know, it's awful.
It's horrible.
It's so eerie. But I kind of like this idea of like the mom and seeing sort of like a mirror facing a mirror, and the two of them like both seeing like reflections of each other, like in each other, sort of like endlessly. So the daughter is stepping into like the mother's role, and the mother is like stepping into like the daughter's role, and in a way they're both kind of ageless.
It kind of reminds me, and maybe this is just me being stupid, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of Us. Like, like a tiny little bit. Which I feel like leads me on to something I want to ask you about, which is genre.
Yeah.
And you've also written Jesus Freaks.
Yes.
Which, would you classify that as a thriller, gothic?
I would say gothic thrillers is probably a good definition.
Good. Yeah. I'm glad I guessed that right. What? Because I feel like that is like so much a part of this story too. Even though it's quite humorous and quite light, it's got a lot of traditional gothic elements, I think.
Yeah. I actually thought it was really interesting that you pointed that out, just because another big inspiration that I had for this story was the short story by Daphne du Maurier and the film Don't Look Now, which is a horror film set in Venice, where it's basically like a couple, married couple who have lost a child the year before, and when they go to Venice they keep seeing the child around the city.
Why do you think you lean towards gothic themes so much in your writing?
I don't know really. I think I am really interested in, like, I read this quote by someone, I can't remember who it is, which is a shame, but it was something like,
I'll look it up.
We'll look it up later, but it's about like, it said basically like most writers will have like a specific like emotion that they'll return to, that they write from.
I think I've seen that quote too.
And I think like for me, a lot of the emotions like I write from are like fear. So which sounds so like Stephen King, like I always write about fear, but like I think a lot of the ideas that I'm most interested in explore are my own fears and what makes me uncomfortable. And obviously Gothic literature is such like a great vehicle for that.
I want to talk about your writing process.
Oh yeah, okay.
So I just, this is something I'm just like personally nosy about.
Yeah.
Because you've written a lot of stuff, you've written a whole book. Like, what's your go-to routine?
So I feel like honestly, since I finished my book, my routine is like is a bit all over the place. I feel like I really used to try and be that person who's like 9 in the morning, I sit down, I write a novel.
I don't believe anyone does that.
No,
I don't think anyone does that.
I wish I wrote every day. I don't write every day, but I try and write quite often, and I usually will be thinking about some kind of ideas or characters or whatever, and I'll handwrite a lot, so I'll just like scribble down like half a page or a couple of lines or whatever, and then I'll get to a point where I'll sit down at the computer and sort of bring together like all these kind of scraps that I've written and try to like see what it looks like, or like bring it all together into something, and then I edit for a really long time. Like I think Alligator, Crocodile, I probably edited like every couple of months for like a year or so. So yeah,
I think you can always tell like who is a big editor and who isn't. When you read a final piece, you can tell how many times someone's gone over it. At least I feel like I can tell, maybe it's just because I also write, but it is definitely like apparent. I think the word choice is a lot tighter. So what are you working on now?
So I am currently working on my second novel. I'm not sure if it's going to be a novel or a novella, but I'm working on my second like long project, which is also sort of returning to like themes of like queerness and Christianity. It's a homoerotic retelling of the Bible.
I love that.
Which everyone's been waiting for. And it like focuses on the relationship between Jesus and Judas.
Wow.
Yeah.
The original fans are gonna
Exactly.
So excited.
The biblical Fujoshis are gonna love it. But yeah, I'm working on that, and hopefully there will be a bit of it coming up in the Fierce Salvage anthology.
Ooh,
yeah. So I'm planning to
God,
like,
so exciting.
yeah, include an extract of that in it. Yeah, so we'll see how it goes.
Amazing. And just to finish off, do you have a better author you can recommend?
Yes, I would really recommend the work of Kira Maguire.
I love Kira Maguire.
Yeah, she's great. And
she has a new collection coming out.
Does,
yeah.
Impossible Heat.
Impossible Heat.
From Bad Betty Press.
Very excited for that. I'm excited for the new Bad Betty Press line of pamphlets. I love that. So I just want to thank the Alchemy Experiment for letting us use the space, and I just want to give credit to the beautiful exhibition that you can see partly behind us. This exhibition is inspired by the theme of the Refugee Festival of Scotland, Rise, and is by Iranian artist Anu Scott Maya. And it is called Birds of the Sea and Rats of the Sky. It's actually a beautiful exhibition. I love this. I actually really, really like this. I'm glad this is like
the centerpiece.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a wrap.
Thank you so much.
No worries.